Today, we are diving deep into the work of a thinker who, honestly, saw our modern anxieties coming decades ago. We're going to explore the incredibly powerful ideas of the existential psychologist Rollo May and what he can teach us about finding some real meaning in what feels like an increasingly chaotic world. It's a question a lot of us are asking ourselves, right? I mean, we have more connection than ever, more opportunities, more everything. So why is it that so many of us feel this deep sense of unease, this emptiness, or just this feeling of being totally and completely overwhelmed?
Well, according to Rollo May, this isn't just a personal problem you're dealing with. He saw it as a cultural one. He called it a crisis of meaning, a kind of modern dilemma, where the very values that are supposed to be our guideposts, they've just started to crumble.
What's so fascinating is that May saw all of these symptoms as interconnected. He argued that our society was shifting away from a healthy kind of self-reliance toward this toxic, exploitative individualism. So, instead of a sense of community, we're left with this winner-takes-all mentality that just leaves so many of us feeling isolated, powerless, and kind of morally adrift. And this feeling of emptiness, well, it creates a vacuum. So what do? We try to fill it by looking outward for approval, maybe clinging to unsatisfying relationships, or just adopting the same opinions as everyone else to fit in. May warned that this fear of being alone, this chase for superficial connection, it ironically just makes us feel even more isolated.
All right, so who was this guy who diagnosed our modern conditions so clearly so long ago? Let's meet Rollo May, a real pioneer of existential psychology. And he wasn't just some academic in an ivory tower. His own life experiences profoundly shaped every single one of his ideas about what it means to be human. May's journey was just remarkable. I mean, from traveling around Europe where he first bumped into existentialist ideas to a life-threatening battle with tuberculosis. And it was during that illness, while he was literally facing his own mortality day in and out, that he dove headfirst into the nature of anxiety, reading the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard. So for him, this wasn't theoretical at all. It was deeply, deeply personal. And that experience became the absolute core of his philosophy. That personal brush with non-being, with nothingness, gave him this profound appreciation for being. He realized that confronting life's ultimate realities, instead of, running away from them, is the real key to a meaningful life. This idea became the very foundation of all of his work. So, how can we use his ideas to understand ourselves better? Well, May basically developed a powerful set of concepts. You can think of it as an existential toolkit to help us navigate our own inner worlds. First off, he completely reframed the whole idea of anxiety. While Freud saw it as a symptom of some repressed conflict that needed to be cured, May saw it as something much more fundamental. For him, anxiety is just an unavoidable part of being human. It's that dizziness of freedom you feel when you realize you have to make choices and there are no guarantees. It's not a disease, it's a signal.
And right here, May makes a really crucial distinction. He talks about normal anxiety. That's the feeling you get before a big presentation or when you're moving to a new city. It's a sign that you're pushing your boundaries. If you face it, you grow. But neurotic anxiety is what happens when you repress that fear, when you avoid the challenge altogether. And that path, it only leads to defensiveness and getting stuck.
May also gave us a sort of map of our existence, splitting it into 3 modes. There's the Umfeld, which is our physical, biological world. Then there's the Midfeld, our social world of relationships. And finally, the Eigenwelt. That's our own personal inner world. He argued that a truly authentic life requires a healthy balance of all 3. Our modern crisis, he'd say, often comes from neglecting one, usually our inner world, in favor of the others.
He also saw our personal growth as a journey through 4 stages of consciousness. We all start in a pre-aware stage of innocence. Then, like a teenager, we move into rebellion to forge our own identity. A lot of us settle into ordinary consciousness, where we learn to accept our own faults and biases. But May believe the ultimate goal is creative consciousness, a stage where we can actually transcend our own ego to connect with profound, universal truths.
Okay. This all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? Let's take a look at how May applied these exact ideas to help real people.
Let's talk about the fascinating case of a woman named Mrs. Hutchins. She came to May with a hoarse voice, a condition that had no physical cause. May saw this not as some random symptom, but as a symbolic act. She was, quite literally, silencing herself because she was afraid to speak her own truth. A huge moment in her therapy came from one of her dreams. She dreamt of a baby in an unfinished house, and she was terrified the baby would suffocate. May didn't see this as some repressed memory from the past. He saw it as a symbol of her future potential, her new, emerging self, that she was absolutely terrified to let live and breathe. And so the breakthrough wasn't about fixing her voice at all. It was about helping her find the courage to face her existential fears, especially the fear of standing up to her very authoritarian parents. The moment she did that, the moment she finally embraced her own being, the symptom just vanished.
Her story really brings the goals of May's therapy into sharp focus. You see, it's not about curing symptoms. It's about setting people free. It's about increasing their self-awareness, helping them see the choices and the potential they have, and encouraging them to take full responsibility for creating their own life and their own meaning.
And this brings us right to the heart of Rollo May's message and what it all means for us today. It all comes down to finding the courage to truly be ourselves.
May called this the human dilemma. We are all caught in this constant tension. On one hand, we are subjects with free will, right? We can make choices and shape our lives. But on the other hand, we're also objects, being acted upon by our biology, our environment, our society. The courage to be is the courage to live in that tension and to choose, again and again, to be the subject of our own lives.
And this might be his single most powerful statement for our time. For Rollo May, real courage isn't about being fearless. It's about resisting that massive pull to just conform, to follow the crowd, to live an inauthentic life. It's the courage to choose your own path, especially when it's the harder one. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What about that normal anxiety in your own life? That one thing that kind of scares you, but also calls to you? According to Rollo May, on the other side of that fear isn't just relief. It's a more authentic, more conscious, and more meaningful version of yourself.